Did you know that there are approximately 5,000 trucking-related fatalities a year in the United States? One of those factors is winter conditions. Hi, I'm Randy Blue with Sherman Brothers Trucking. As a professional driver, it's important for you to anticipate and be prepared for winter environments. The better prepared you are, the better your chances are of making it home to your family. A professional driver takes pride in being prepared for the many challenges and problems associated with winter driving, such as maintenance, warm clothes, and planning extra time into the trip. It may not be your favorite season to be on the road, but in trucking, there are times when we operate in severe conditions, especially if you're going over mountain passes. As a professional driver, it's part of your job to be prepared and anticipate the challenges or problems that may arise in winter driving. This video has been designed to train or help remind you of how to prepare and what to expect when operating in a winter environment. We'll first look at trip planning and personal protective equipment, or PPE. We'll show you the items to check during a pre-season inspection of your vehicle and chains. We'll share safe driving points and the criteria that other professionals use to decide when to put on chains. We'll review chain up procedures and regulations, as well as driving with chains. And finally, we'll go over chain removal. It's our goal in this video to provide information that helps you prepare for winter driving. This will help eliminate accidents and injuries that result in downtime. This is very important because for most of us, if the wheels are not turning, we're not earning. When getting out of your truck in winter conditions or any other time, it's always important to use a 3-point of contact, any 3 limbs at one time. In my duffel bag here, I got some items for winter driving. We'll go over these. While Daryl's doing a thorough pre-trip of the truck and trailer, let's talk about some of the items you might want to carry with you during the winter time. One is safety glasses. Anytime you're using rubber rope, you want to have safety glasses on. The other item would be a high visibility safety vest so that other traffic can see you when you're working around your truck. Other items that I think a professional should have with them: some insulated coveralls to keep you warm when you're outside in the elements. Some knee pads so that when you're kneeling down around the truck on snow and ice, you keep some of the cold away from you. A headlamp. Using a headlamp frees up both your hands so that you can chain up quicker. Make sure you have the proper wrench for your cam locks. A tarp so that you're not laying in the snow, ice, and water. Stocking cap of some kind to keep your head warm. A shovel. Good to have a shovel with you so that you can dig snow out from underneath your tires. Some good waterproof gloves. These are sized a little larger so we can put warmer gloves on the inside. All of this we put into a duffel bag so that we're always grab and go ready. Prior to operating in winter conditions, you want to check your equipment. Start with your chains. You want to inspect your chains here at the yard so that if anything's wrong with them, you can get them repaired or replaced. Things you're checking are your cross links to make sure they're serviceable, and your hooks, make sure they're not damaged. Now that your chains are inspected and they're all in order, you want to hang them. Hang them in such a fashion that they're organized so that when you take them back off, you know which chains you're grabbing. Well, we've completed our pre-season inspections. Now it's time to do a pre-trip inspection. Additional items that you'll want to cover when you're doing a pre-trip in the winter is your antifreeze levels. Make sure that it's appropriate to the conditions you're going to operate in, and make sure that you have winterized windshield fluid. Other trip preparations that we've made is we've checked with dispatch for routing, we've checked on the weather and road conditions ahead of ourselves, we've even thought about where we might potentially have to chain up so that we are well prepared for it. The other thing you want to check for or be aware of is fuel stops. Where are you going to get fuel so you don't run out? Driving in winter conditions requires a safety type attitude. You need to think about the conditions you're operating in, the freezing conditions. One of the things you can use is a thermometer to tell you what the outside air conditions are. Truckers who don't anticipate and adjust for the driving conditions they're in sometimes find themselves in bad situations like an accident or an incident. Winter weather conditions has its own set of issues, such as visibility, reduced traction, and increased stopping distance. Following distance should be between 8 to 12 seconds so that you have time to stop. Adjust your speed according to the conditions and visibility. When you're climbing hills, stay in the right lane. Don't travel on the right shoulder or cross over what's known as the fog line. That's an emergency lane and there could be stopped vehicles over there. Driving too fast in certain conditions, such as when there's water on the road, can cause hydroplaning. Or if it's icy out, you could jackknife, especially when you're crossing over bridges or overpasses. Headlight safety is something else to keep in mind. Whenever there's oncoming traffic, utilize your low beams. If it's dark outside, use your high beams until there's oncoming traffic to give yourself as much vision as possible. Speed control is an excellent way to manage winter driving conditions. Remember that you have one chance to go too fast and a lot of chances to go too slow. Prior to this trip, Daryl has planned out his food, fuel, and safety checks, one of which is a good safe place to chain up his truck. Observe changing road conditions and be ready for the changes. You should be ready to put your chains on because you practiced and did all the pre-season work. Here's some things to watch for. If your temperature gauge goes below 35 degrees, or no spray coming off the tires on wet pavement could be an indicator of a frozen roadway. Before conditions get worse, be thinking about where pullouts are for safely putting on chains. Sometimes this means stopping earlier. A seasoned driver once said, as soon as you start arguing with yourself, it's time to put on the chains. Here's a few do's and don'ts. Don't use your exhaust brake going downhill in slippery conditions. Don't use the trailer handbrake in slippery conditions. Do use all brakes in a combination going downhill. Be in the proper gear starting at the top of the hill, that way you won't have to try to shift. Sometimes it's better to run a little while on dry pavement with your chains on than wait until it's too late to put them on and have an accident. Additional indicators for chaining up are that it's legally required or that you're seeing lots of snow on oncoming vehicles. Another source is the CB. Make sure it's somebody you know and trust. You'll also notice changing weather and road conditions, and that you as an experienced professional driver will need to make the determination if it's time to put chains on. Also, if you have a safe pull-out location, or state police maybe are pulling people off and telling them to chain up. Since we did our pre-season checks, we know our chains are organized and ready to be put on, so it won't take near as much time. Some of the things you're looking for are the cams down so that when you drape them over the tire, they go into position. You want to make sure, since we figured we're going to roll forward, we put the hooks on the back so you don't run those over. When you position, tuck in the leading edge of the chain under the tire. When you got all of your truck positioned with chains, then you come up and make a mark on your tire. That mark on the tire that you're going to put in is going to be a quarter turn. So you draw the line here and we're going to roll the truck forward And so this line needs to finish up here at 12 noon. That tells you that your chains are all in the position where you can hook the latches. So now you've got all your chains in position, it's time to start hooking them up. First one you want to do is the inside rail. You want to hook that as tight as you possibly can, and then go to the outside rail, again, pulling as tight as you can, and then you start working the cams. Now that the chains are tight, you want to roll back and forth, depending on what conditions will allow for, and try to do 15-20 feet. What that'll do is it'll seat your chains, and then you go through and retighten them, and then it's time to put the bungees on. Remember to wear your safety glasses. Now we've rolled back and forth and we've retightened the chains. It's time to put some bungees on to secure it and help keep it tight. The idea is to lace it back and forth, creating some of a star pattern. Now we've got our chains all adjusted and the bungees on. Another good thing to keep in mind is to keep your window cracked just a bit so you can hear the sounds the chains are making. Because sometimes when they get loose, there'll be a difference in the sound. A loose chain can either tear itself up, or if they get really loose, they'll tear off your quarter fender. Driving with chains on presents some challenges, like dry pavement. There will be times when you have to operate with chains on and the pavement's dry. So go a little bit slower and pay attention not to spin your tires. You want to make sure to keep your speed slow. Even in snow, you should never exceed about 35 miles per hour, or what conditions indicate. Keep your window open just enough so that you can listen for changes in the noises that your chains make and detect problems early. It's a good idea to keep about an 8 to 12 second following distance from the vehicle in front of you. Good speed and space management will keep you out of trouble. And finally, be thinking about places to pull off and safely remove your chains. Taking the chains off is basically just the reverse order of putting them on. The one thing you want to do when you take them off is make sure that you pull all the excess chain out from underneath the tire so that when you roll off the chains, you don't roll over the hooks of the chain. Anytime you're on the traffic side of the vehicle, make sure you're paying attention to what traffic's doing around you. Now when you take your chains off, you also want to be very organized about it. Inspect them as you take them off. Now at this point they're ready to roll out. You're ready to roll the truck off the chains. And if you notice, the hooks here are out of the way so you won't bend them. So now that the chains are off, inspect them, make sure they're still serviceable for the next time, and organize them as you hang them on the rack. Everybody has their own way of organizing chains. Daryl uses a manner where the singles are on the front of the rack and the three railers are on the back side of the rack, so he always knows he's grabbing the right chain when he needs it. This video doesn't cover every aspect of winter driving. If you need more information, seek training from your company or other trusted resources. The goal of this video is to provide you some helpful tips and best practices to get you home safely. Thank you for watching.